A while back, I met a family relocating from Seattle. Now, like a lot of people planning to move to Orange County, they thought they had already done everything right. They compared schools, studied commute maps, spent hours on Zillow, and had already fallen in love with the house before they ever got on a plane. 3 hours after we started driving through South Orange County, they decided not to buy that home. Now, there was nothing wrong with this house. It was beautiful, but they did realize they were about to spend well over $1 million on a lifestyle that didn't actually fit the life they wanted to live. After helping hundreds of families move throughout Orange County, I've learned something. The biggest mistakes usually aren't about buying the wrong house. Want to know what they're about? They're about buying the wrong life. So before you make one of the biggest financial decisions you'll ever make, I want to share the 7 realities I wish every buyer understood before moving to South Orange County. Now, why does this matter? Most people think buying a home is about finding the right property. I don't think that it is. I think it's about choosing a life you'll wake up to every morning. It's where your kids will make friends, how much time you'll spend in the car, whether you'll walk after dinner or get back on the freeway, and what an ordinary Tuesday feels like 5 years from now. I've seen 2 families buy homes just a few miles apart, and one couldn't imagine living anywhere else, while the other quietly realized it never felt quite right. The difference was not the house. It was the life the neighborhood made possible. One of the things I love most about being in real estate is that I get to watch people make one of the biggest decisions of their lives. Every week, I meet families coming from different places, different careers, and different stages of life. And over the years, I've noticed something surprisingly consistent. The happiest buyers are not usually the ones who bought the biggest house or negotiated the best deal. They are the ones who understood what everyday life would actually feel like before they ever made an offer. Today, my goal is not to convince you to move here. It's to help you make a decision you'll still be happy with long after the moving boxes are gone. Reality number 1, South Orange County isn't one place, and that's its biggest strength. The first question I asked that family was simple. What part of South Orange County are you hoping to live in? They smiled and said, South Orange County. Honestly, that's how most people think before they get here. Online, it all blends together. Beautiful homes, amazing schools, palm trees, sunshine. But once you start exploring, you realize every community has its own personality. Some feel established, some feel newer, some revolve around parks and families, others have a stronger coastal energy. That's why I almost never start by asking buyers what kind of house they want. I ask what kind of life they want to live. Because once you answer that question, choosing the right community becomes much easier. That conversation completely changed the direction of their search, but it also uncovered another assumption they didn't even realize they were making. Now, a few weeks later, they had narrowed their search to 2 homes. One was a dream house, the other simply fit their routine a little better. And I'll admit it, I thought I knew which one they were going to choose. I was wrong. And the reason they changed their minds is probably the most overlooked part of buying a home anywhere, not just in South Orange County. And reality number 2, your life will be decided on a Tuesday, not a Saturday. When we met again, they told me they narrowed it down to 2 homes. One was larger, had the backyard they imagined, and felt like the house they'd been searching for. The other wasn't quite as impressive, but it made everyday life much easier. Before we looked at either one, I asked them a question I'll never forget. Forget Saturday for a minute. Tell me about your Tuesday. They paused. Then we started talking about work, school drop-offs, grocery runs, soccer practice, getting dinner on the table, and whether an extra 45 minutes in the car every day was worth a little more house. Here's what surprised me after years of helping families relocate. People spend weeks comparing floor plans and only minutes thinking about the routine they'll repeat hundreds of times every year. Your happiness usually isn't determined by your best weekends. It's determined by your most ordinary days. If your Tuesday works, there's a good chance everything else will too. The next morning they called me, and for the first time, they weren't talking about the house. Want to know what they were talking about? They were talking about the life they really wanted. Reality number 3, the California you imagine isn't always the California you end up loving. Like a lot of people moving here, they pictured beach days every weekend, sunset walks along the coast. In the version of Southern California, you've probably seen in 1,000 postcards. And don't get me wrong, that life absolutely exists. But when I catch up with clients a year or 2 after they moved here, almost nobody starts by telling me about the beach. They tell me about the trail they walk after dinner, the park where their kids met their best friends, the neighborhood coffee shop where everyone knows their name, the summer concerts, the farmers markets, the community pool, and the simple routines that slowly become their favorite part of living here. That's the surprise. People don't usually fall in love with South Orange County because of where they vacation. They fall in love because of how they live on an ordinary Wednesday evening. And that's a very different decision. And before we continue, this is actually why I created our South Orange County Ultimate Neighborhood Guide. After having these conversations over and over again, I realized most buyers don't need more listings, they need more clarity. They need someone to explain what daily life actually feels like before they spend months touring homes. So we put everything we wish every relocating buyer knew into one guide. It breaks down the major South Orange County communities, who they are best for, what everyday life is really like, and the little differences you simply won't find on Zillow or Google Maps. If you're still trying to figure out where you belong, you'll find a link in the description below. I hope it helps you make this decision with a lot more confidence, and it's completely free, no cost to you. Reality number 4, don't ask if you can afford the house, ask if you can afford the life that comes with it. One of the hardest conversations I have with buyers is not about the price, it's about priorities. I've seen families stretch to buy the dream house, only to realize 6 months later, they're saying no to weekend trips, dinners out, hobbies, or vacations because the monthly payment changed everything else. That's not always because they made a bad financial decision. Sometimes it's because they only calculated the mortgage instead of the lifestyle. HOA dues, maybe it has Melrose, homeowners insurance, commuting costs, and all the little monthly expenses become part of your everyday life. None of those things are actually good or bad. In fact, many of the communities people love most are absolutely worth the extra cost. The important thing is understanding the full picture before you buy. That's why I think the better question isn't, can we afford this house? It's, after we buy this house, can we still afford the life we want to live? In my experience, that one question leads to better decisions more than anything else. Now, by now, that family wasn't really comparing houses anymore. They were comparing lifestyles. And that's when the conversation turned to the topic almost every family worries about most, schools. It's an important conversation, but maybe not for the reason most people think. Reality number 5, a great school is important, a great childhood might even be more important. Not long after that, we started talking about schools. Like so many families, they had rankings, test scores, and comparison charts open on their laptops. Schools do matter, they absolutely do. And one of the reasons so many families choose South Orange County is because there are excellent options throughout the area. But over the years, I've noticed something that never shows up in a ranking. I've never had a parent call me 10 years later and say, I wish we'd chosen a school that was ranked 3 places higher. You know what I have had happen? I've had parents tell me they're grateful their kids grew up riding bikes to a friend's house, playing in neighborhood parks, and feeling like they belong to a real community. A great school helps shape your child's education. A great neighborhood helps shape their childhood. If you're fortunate enough to find both, you've found something really special. Now, reality number 6, don't compare houses, compare the life each one makes possible. For a while, they were convinced they wanted a brand new home. And honestly, I understood why. New homes are beautiful. Everything is fresh and modern and thoughtfully designed. But the more communities we explored, the more they noticed things they hadn't expected to care about. Tree-lined streets that invited evening walks, mature neighborhoods where kids were outside riding bikes, parks that were already part of people's daily routines. Then we'd visit a newer community with incredible amenities, beautiful clubhouses, and a completely different kind of energy. Neither was better per se, they were simply different. That's when I told them something I still tell buyers today. Don't compare the age of the house, compare the life you'll have because of it. Every home asks you to make trade-offs. The goal is not to avoid them. It's to choose the ones that fit the life you're trying to build. Reality number 7, years from now, you won't remember the house. You're gonna remember the life you had. Now, a couple years after they moved, I reached out just to see how they were doing. Like I always do, I asked, so how's the house? They smiled, laughed, and barely talked about it. Instead, they told me about neighbors who had become close friends, evening walks after dinner, community events they never expected to enjoy, and how their kids disappeared every afternoon because they were outside playing until the street lights came on. Then, one of them said something I'll never forget. They looked at me and said, if you showed us both those listings today, we'd probably still pick the first house. But if you asked us which life we choose this one every single time. I don't think I've ever heard a better description of what buying the right home really means. Because in the end, people rarely remember why they bought a house. They remember the life they built after they moved in. When I think back to that first afternoon, I don't remember the house they almost bought. I remember the moment they started asking a better question. They stopped asking, which house should we buy? And started asking, what kind of life do we want to build? That one shift changed everything. It led them to a different community, a different home, and a decision they still feel good about years later. If there's one thing I hope you take away from this video, it's that buying a home is never really about the home. It's about choosing the backdrop for the next chapter of your life. And when you focus on that first, the right house has a much better way of becoming easier to recognize. If you're still trying to figure out which South Orange County community fits the life you want to build, we'd love to help. We've put together our South Orange County Ultimate Neighborhood Guide to answer the questions buyers ask us every single week. What each community feels like, who's it best for, what everyday life is really like, and the differences that are hard to understand if you're searching from out of town. You can download it using the link in the description below. It's completely free and no cost to you. And if this video helped you think differently about your move, don't stop here. In the next video, we'll take the next step together as we walk through the major South Orange County communities, compare what makes each one unique, and help you narrow down which city actually fits your lifestyle. You can click somewhere here on the screen and let's figure out which South Orange County city fits the life you want to build. And we'll see you on the next one.